Hey everybody, welcome back to Lovecraft and Back, and we are here. It is a new year, so first of all, Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year to Open Lab Media as well, housing us. Happy New Year to my co-host, Aaron. What's up, man? How you been?
I am doing ecstatic, amazing, all those wonderful buzzwords. I am just so glad to be back to talk about more episodes of my favorite show and all things Lovecraft. You know how it is.
Yes, I am excited because we have had a little break. We actually have another segment with a podcast called More Diversity, and we have been doing a lot of things with that. So if you're listening, catch us on YouTube every Wednesday between 8:15 and 8:30. We go live for about an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours. We have been having some different topics. You can go back and see what we have done. So today we're going to talk about episode 5, and this is Strange Cases. And I've been excited about this one because of how this went down. Miss Ruby finally gets her solo part in this series, and we get to finally get some deepness with her. Because I feel like leading up to this episode, we haven't really seen that much of Ruby. We've only seen, little sprinkles of Ruby here and there. And I feel like this was the time for her. Well, at this time on this episode, this was the opportunity for her character to have some type of development, some type of depth, some type of emotion. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, the way this episode opens up is you see this this white woman sprawled out on this bed, this circular bed and everything, and she's just, waking up kind of confused, kind of dazed, and in actuality, this woman is Ruby, and we see her go through this transformation of this white woman back into Ruby. And I mean, it is a gruesome transformation because you see the rippings of the limbs, the skin, everything, blood is leaking out. So we see this transformation of Ruby and this white woman. How was you feeling about this opening scene? Because, this introduced...
Oh, boy.
being
Loved the twist. I just love how we first open up with this white woman. I'm thinking we're going to have this, story about some woman who's going to uncover the secrets with the magic and the witches, and she's going to have to run to Atticus and Letty and all that. I'm thinking this is a whole different type of episode. And then just to see that transformation happen, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I think that's a testament. You're going to, if it hasn't come apparent to you at this moment, listeners, this is what happens every time I watch an episode of Lovecraft Country. You think it's going to go one way, and no, we don't get that. And I love that, there's always a twist and a turn. Mm-hmm. And, I think with Ruby of all characters who we've known to be this very outspoken, pro-Black, sister and character of Letty, she just, it's good to see her have a day in the life episode, but also a deeper, character study, if you will. And I think it's a very interesting take to take like your pro-Black character and, pick them apart. It just, but knowing that's, we go into a lot of other things. It's a very interesting episode.
Yes, it is very interesting because, I mean, after the transformation, she takes her shower. Well, William comforts her and cares for her and, prepare her and tries to calm her down on what had just happened. Because, previous episode, he did give her that potion and told her, I can give you everything you want, or you can have everything you want. And, that's what, I don't think it's necessarily what she wanted, but she did want to feel, like you said, on the other side of society or on the other side of how things were. So, she having that opportunity to become another person, she didn't embrace it at first, but then when he really broke it down to her, and basically, I love the analogy that he used. It was almost like it was the a caterpillar turns into a cocoon and then it turns into a butterfly. And I feel like that is the theme of this episode, because once we talk about Montrose, we can also bring that back into fruition where, these are caterpillars transforming into the cocoons and being to themselves, or, working on themselves, or holding on to things that they've been processing, and then blossoming into whatever that they, their resolution is. So, I mean,
I also kind of feel like it sort of took two characters that, were basically known as the harsh ones of the show. And, we get to see, basically like a mirroring story. We get to see two different sides of their characters, but also, with Montrose, we get a more natural sort of exploration into who he is and what he's about. And Ruby just makes a deal with the devil, basically.
Right. Like automatic deal.
I just think that's really interesting how they told this, story. And like you have these, our main characters with Lydia and Atticus, they're kind of just being flies on the wall this episode.
Oh yeah, because I feel like they have, no shade, they have carried this show from episode 1, the both of them.
Yeah.
And if George was still here, I feel like the three of them will still be carrying the show right now. But Letty and Tick have been carrying this show up until now. And so it's kind of, I'm not saying that it's kind of refreshing to not see them right now. And we do get to see them in this episode when they have conflict about what situation happened on the last episode, how Montrose killed Yama. And, Tick beat the crap out of his dad. I mean, like, once again, I said I have a soft spot for Montrose, because that, I feel like, we can actually talk about it. Letty was like, what if he did that to protect us from whatever, the sons of Adam are trying to do to you? So that was a thought. Like, what if he did, kill this person because he was trying to protect you? But
I think that's an overarching. I think that's see. Now let's get on Tick for a minute, because I think an overarching story. It's never an episode if I'm not getting on Tick. It's all out of love. I need him to get it together. But I feel like we get to a point every episode since episode 2 that Montrose is just protecting his son. Because he's been, it's obvious he's been with the sons of Adam for a good minute, so he knows how they operate. He knows what they're doing. He could even know what Christina's planning, and he's trying to protect him. But Tick ain't having that. Tick is so headstrong, and I think that is just really good writing, because you get to see, both of Montrose and Tick, father and son. They're the exact same in terms of hot-headedness and how they want to protect. They just approach it two different ways, but they just, oh my God, Tick, I need you to get it together. Come on, man.
Tick is I think what it is with Tick is because let's talk about the theme real quick. The theme is, metamorphosis and butterflies, right. And, embracing and holding on. And, I just feel like Tick has held on everything that he's been through, especially in these last couple of episodes. We said it last time. Yes, he act like everything has happened to him, but for his own personal character arc, he has, been through a lot, but also held on to a lot that's made him act ways that he shouldn't be acting. So I do get you. He do need to come on, because I be looking at him like, come on, man, like, chill out.
Right. And you know what else that reminds me of? It reminds me of Tom Cruise's character from Eyes Wide Shut. Anyway.
Here you go with this Eyes Wide Shut. I still ain't watched that movie. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch that. Fresh Eyes Wide Shut. Continuing, let's talk about how, Ruby takes that potion again, and she embraces more of, let's say the grass is green on the other side, being white on the other side, how it is on the other side. I mean, she's walking down hysterically. That scene where she's coming down and they blame the fact that this kid was attacking her, and it wasn't really, her attacking. He wasn't attacking her. She was just, afraid because of what she was going through and everything, and like being in this body and being, in this newfound body and everything. But, when she fully embraces it the second time with the potion, and she's comfortable with it, she's walking around as Hillary and everything. She talking to the police, and she go into the ice cream shop and they give her a little free ice cream and stuff. She has basically no worries, nothing to worry about, because she is on this other side of the land. And then she goes to the department store that, as Ruby, she would not get hired at. And when she does her interview and everything, she gets hired, but also is told that she is overqualified for the position of just, sales associate or cashier. Yeah. She gets presented as assistant manager in this newfound body as Hillary. So I feel like in her mind, I feel like this is not like a psychological trap or anything like this, but this is like a psychological session for Ruby, because it's Ruby, but on the outside it's Hillary. So I feel like it was almost like triggering, and like not triggering, but also like I feel like it was messing with her at the same time, because, she could not get that job, and then she saw that other black lady who already had got hired, and then find out that she is, didn't go to school and everything like that, just has a high school diploma. And, Ruby has education. Ruby has a resume. So it's like to get hired in this newfound body that is a white woman's body. I know, like, you can tell, like, that. That's like, I feel like that was like mind tricks on her brain in the inside. But
it also, oh, sorry for cutting you off.
You good.
Also, it just, I think, that really speaks on how I think every black person's heard this once in their life, is that it doesn't matter how qualified you are in the business field, you have to work twice as hard. And, like you were saying, how Ruby has all of the qualifications to have her be assistant manager. She's still trying to get crumbs, basically, at a department store. This is that dynamic, that dynamic, and the shift just isn't there for her. And it's very unfair, obviously within universe, but also in real life. And I think it just, we're still dealing with that. I think that's the worst part of it. But within the show universe, she obviously sticks it to him, no pun intended. Later, we'll get on that. But
how you dropping bombs already?
Got to. But I feel like, knowing, just seeing how she's treated, both as Ruby and as Hillary in two different ways. She can still have the same mannerisms, because, every now and then Hillary would do something that Ruby was doing, that Ruby would do. And I think even when she was, hanging out with the white women, and they were talking about the music and the clubs and going into the, the Negro area. That was a mess.
It'll be like a safari.
Right. That was a whole mess. But that's how they, that's how they feel. Like, that, more power to them, I guess. But it just, we've, I think we have come a long way, but we haven't. And I just really enjoy that. That's what Misha was really pointing out.
Yes.
Is that, you can plop this into the 90s, today, the 80s, you can plop it into the 30s. It doesn't matter what time frame it is, this still happens. And it just, we've all seen it, and they really even didn't have to say Ruby didn't have to say, "Oh, it's because I'm white." We already know, the cues are there, and I just that's a great. It was a great moment just to show, the dynamic shifts, and it just ugly, ugly, ugly.
Yeah, that was ugly. But yeah, that was a good point. Yeah, Misha and her team are amazing for, pointing things out like that and making it at the forefront of the show. Put a pin on Miss Ruby because we do have another character who is, going through his own transformation and his own, you know, things. And that's Mr. Montrose after last episode when they had their journey to the center of the earth, that last episode, episode 4, ended with him, slicing the neck of Yama. And, for me, I was pissed because honestly I felt like she was cursed as a siren. So I thought we was gonna get more of that. And
Yeah.
I was just like tripping.
I think we all were. I still want to know why they did that.
Oh yeah, I think you still got a thunderstorm over there.
Yeah. Yes, I do. It's so wonderful. Yes, and for everyone listening, there is a storm happening right where I am in Texas 3 days after it snowed. While it is 60 degrees outside, it's wonderful weather.
And that is the weather by Aaron from Texarkana, Texas.
Yes.
That was good. But yeah, like he's going. I mean, with that situation happened, I was kind of upset because I was like, well, dang. Because when she started screaming in the elevator, I was like, oh, it's a siren because that's what sirens sound like. The mermaids, I was like, oh. But then this man goes and slices her up, and I'm just like, okay. But he has repercussions from that because Tick is pissed, hot, mad, beats his daddy to a pulp, Black says bruises his nose, all of the above. Tick, I'm gonna tell you now, you have wrong. You ain't have to beat your dad up like that. Like, God, Jonathan Majors, sir, pull back a little bit. Nah, but he beat him up bad, and that made Montrose go into his cocoon. He had to separate himself from them to really deal with that to unpack that emotional damage that had just happened that he did to them and that what his son did to him. So the only person that he could go to was Sammy, who owns the bar that we see at the beginning of the show that his dad will always be at. So we see him go back and he's bruised up and everything. Sammy is just confused, but they embrace each other. They have their moment. And, I feel like when they're having a moment and the stuff hits the fan of climax. And I feel like the reason that Montrose cried, because I saw a lot of comments about him crying, and that some were jokes, some were not, some were. I felt like the reason that he cried because that was the only person that he could run to. Who can I run to? That's why. That was the only person that he could run to after that happens. After his son just, beat him up, and then the damage that he's done by killing this source that could help his son and them figure out what they can do with the sons of Adam and the book of Adam and all this, that. And he's really just, that's the only person he can go to because that's the only person that he's probably been, telling all his secrets to or really being like opening up to and things like that, because I felt like that's the reason why he cried when he had that moment, because that was the only person he could run to at that time. So, but the shocker was that when Sammy tried to embrace him with a kiss, he was like, nah, bruh. Like it cut, like it was right off. He was back to Montrose, and That was it. But what I like about this whole segment with Montrose and Sammy is that we get to see Montrose in this cocoon, and we get to see Sammy embrace him a little more and try to comfort him in his time of need, because that's what he needed after everything that they've been through these last 4 episodes. He needed some type of comfort because at that point he did not have nobody. So, we see Sammy seeing Sammy introduce him to all his, because we found out Sammy is a drag performer. I really love that because, I do drag. So to see that in a show in this time period, it was, it resonated with me as somebody in the time that we are now, that it was happening back then and they were still just living their lives and doing what they do. But we see, Sammy preparing for his show and everything. And you see Montrose over on the side, just, seeing Sammy truly embrace who he is. And I think for this part, it was more encouraging. Sammy was more encouraging for Montrose at this point, because it was basically saying, break down those walls. Even though everything has happened to you, you are now around people who care about you, who are safe. These are my friends, basically, and they know who I am, and I am your lover, and I embrace you for who you are. Mm-hmm. So how are you feeling about the whole versus, Montrose?
Honestly, that you broke that down so perfectly. Kudos to you, sir.
That was my love, that's why I said I have a soft spot for Montrose, because this is when I said the last episode, this is what I was talking about because of him going into this phase of his life. So
you hit the nail on the head. I think it's very interesting how you noted how Montrose went in his cocoon while Ruby was basically, in contrast, Ruby was getting out of her cocoon. Like, I really, you point that out. But I think what really elevated that scene where he went to Sammy was using Frank Ocean's Bad Religion. Mm-hmm. Like, that something about using that particular song just because of the subject matter, it's so heavy. And you have this beautiful moment where Montrose is just free in himself. Like, that was a very well directed scene. Like, choreographed, like everything was just really great. And and even with just the song, everything you said about Montrose and Sammy, like everything that was captured without dialogue.
Oh yeah,
you got to see all of this, and that was so great. Yeah, I really don't know what to say in terms of like what it did for the character, because like you hit it.
I ended with this, that, when they got to the club and, Sammy got his crown and, did his little performance and everything. I was living for the club because I was like, okay, like this is what it was back in the day. Shout out to Shangela who's on this episode as well. Shangela was on RuPaul's Drag Race. So the fact that to see her grow and be on this and be able to, showcase herself as an artist, as a drag artist and everything, I really thought I appreciate Misha for doing that, because that's a person that I look up to right now from being on the show and everything on RuPaul. But, when they lift Montrose up, he's feeling the beat, he's feeling the music. You can see him just take everything off because he's just like this. You can see him just take every way, everything that was holding him down, everything that just made him feel like he couldn't be who he wanted to be or embrace who he fully when he did like this and they put him up, he fully was who he was. He embraced who he was. The glitter was falling. It was everything in that whole scenario, that whole scene was perfection. Misha, you did it with that, because it's just like the elements, like I said, the glitter falling, the music, everybody's so happy and everything. So, kudos to that scene. Like I said, the reason I said last episode that I have a soft spot for Montrose, and I saw somebody say he's still a murderer. Yes, he is still a murderer. And I think we'll learn more about why he did what he did, because I do think he did it to protect him and his son and his son's, future. So, but that scene, just him embracing who he was another metaphor or theme to this episode of, cocoons, caterpillars, and butterflies.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I also think a lot of people, I think this is really good for young drag performers and young people in the LGBTQ plus area, because I think there is, even though you do have a lot of education on it, people still don't realize that there were performances like this well before,
right,
the big ballroom scene in the 80s. Like it was huge, even back in the 20s and before. Like this is, this is very good, for history. Like,
yes,
it's very, very great. Very great stuff.
Yes, it was. Like I said, I enjoyed that whole thing. I was just glad that, I was just happy that Montrose could actually just let that weight off his shoulders and, transition into who he needs to be as a person so he can fully succeed throughout the whole rest of the season. Put a pin on that one. Back to Miss Ruby, 2 nights. Miss Ruby, 2 nights. That's we have to get a little scene with her saying 2 nights, because that thing had me holler, because I just didn't understand why she was so mean. Like she's still mean. I was playing. Ruby and Christina are having this conversation. Christina is on, she's still plotting little seeds, and she's still watering stuff, and she told Ruby, you have to do something for me because, I'm giving you this potion or whatever. And William also said the same thing. Like, we're doing this for you. You have to do something for us, basically. So Christina wants Ruby to, be a maid and go serve at the police chief's little gathering or whatever. And, try to find out some information so that she can, for Christina could have the upper hand on him, because I think Christina and him are still beefing. Christina, I think with them two, it's just like they're not trying to touch each other's territory, but Christina is still trying to take over whatever it is that she wants. So, but being at that party and everything, Ruby was over it, especially because she ain't got her potion and she back normal, and she just made around all these white people and everything, and she's serving them, and then it's the way she kept going, you want this? It was that, almost like humiliation, because no shade, she had been in this other body for a good 2-3 days now, so she done got used to doing this, and now she has to revert back to her own self. And it's because, and then the way that it's played as that you have to be their maid and everything. So, how was you feeling about that whole scenario and everything? Because I'm ready to get to what we saw in that closet.
Oh yeah, I think it was a humbling experience for Ruby. Just a reminder that for like a lot of Black people in positions of power, at the end of the day, you're still Black. And especially in that time period, you're going to be humiliated and gone through this, sort of situation where you're always degraded. And having her, have this high position and even respect in the Black community as Ruby, she's still degraded as a maid.
Right.
And her just being so over it, I think, that was really funny to me, because it's like, yeah, you kind of put yourself in that situation. That's what happens when you make a deal with the devil. Right. But it just, that was a good humbling experience for her. I think that was the moment where she kind of snapped back to reality.
Yeah.
And, she could do some good, in positions of power, but also after what she saw in that closet.
Right, because she succeeded with what Christina wanted her to do was, put that amulet near, the police chief so he can be weakened and everything like that. She succeeded, but then, like you say, in this closet is this man, which we heard this man, I think it was 2 episodes, maybe. It was the episode when I think Christina, we had heard him mumbling or something like that. And then now we get the reveal of this man just in there, and his tongue has been cut off. And then Ruby has to sit in there with this closet, because who comes back? Mr. Police Chief, Mr. Head Honcho, Mr. Big man. He comes back, and they're discussing things, but, a lot of people were shocked about what we see is that, yes, this guy is in the closet, and why is he in the closet and everything like that. But then we see the police chief take off his shirt, and it's revealed that he has. At first I thought he was an animal, like, because I thought it was fur and everything. But then it also made me think about, what if he was experimenting on himself of different body parts and everything like that to keep himself together, because of whatever he's doing is already weakening him. So he's using other things to, keep him together and keep him in this form. At least because his top half is still his white self, but then his bottom half was hairy and brown. That's all I'm gonna say.
Right.
Like, hairy and brown.
Right. I that took me back to when we first met Christina, like full on in episode 2, and how her father was sewing himself up constantly. That's what that took me back. I was like, okay, so they're obviously trying to come up with something that's gonna help them, in the long run. But it was very different. But with Ruby in that closet, that scene was so tense. Like
it was.
Even though I knew nothing was going to happen, but it felt like any second they would open up that closet and Ruby be right there, and they would do something to her.
Right.
That was a very tense scene.
Yeah, because like in my notes, I do have that the chief changes his shirt and reveals that his chest seems to be stitched together from other skin. So, that may be a price of the power that they have, is that, they lose something of themselves. Look at Ruby, no shade. She's losing her mind. Maybe that is the price of, that magic that they all are trying to seek and everything. Where after that, she gets back to, the house and everything, and, she's safe and sound. But, I have this right here in my notes. Ruby tells William, "I don't know what's more difficult, being color or being a woman. Most days I am happy to be both, but the world keeps interrupting and I'm sick of being interrupted." But she keeps finding herself, whether as Hillary or as Ruby, being interrupted, or either or. So it's like, even when you're Ruby, you as a colored woman, you're still getting ignored. But as a woman, things are getting done. And I think this leads into when they all do go to the South Side Club and, get down and get down and everything. Shout out to the lady who does play Hillary, because when she did that 2-kick step, and when they was downstairs, when they was like at the break room, she did that little 2-kick step. I was like, okay, lady can move. I give you that. That. But also, if nobody peeked out, let's drop this Easter egg, Aaron. If nobody peeked out that is the lady that got knocked out. Also, who had the dogs when they was at the crazy Aldrin house way back when. What was that, episode 2? When they all got to the house and they went down into the city or the little country town, and she had those dogs. That's that same lady. Why is that lady now Ruby? Or why is Ruby transforming into that lady? Like, let's just drop that little Easter egg.
Sounds like it could lead to a bigger plot point, huh?
Yes, a plot point that's coming. I mean, I can't wait till we get to that. That was, seeing it for the first time. I'm just like, oh, that's the lady, and you not knowing what you're like. Oh, that's the lady. So it's just
I had to rewatch it. It was
and everything.
It comes together. It really does. I think that's what I love about this show. Is like it's you can do multiple rewatches and you can still catch something new.
Yes, you can every time. But yeah, she feels this way because when they're at that club and she's coming out of that transformation, and she looks and she sees her boss trying to sexually assault the other black lady that works with her. And mind you, Ruby had just transformed out of Hillary because they all went as the co-workers and everything. And, she took them over there and everything. And then, she comes out of that form and she sees this in this hole. I think our profile picture on our Twitter page is still that picture too of her looking out that window. Out that little hole. But she sees this happening and you can see the rage. You can see everything. Speaking about that transformation, I think that was the best transformation out of the whole episode because,
Definitely.
her running and trying to get away and, that was like really, really crazy. But how did you feel about, her walking up on her boss doing this to this?
I knew it was coming. I knew that scene was going to come one way or the other. Because I felt she was going to, walk up on like a white woman getting assaulted and she was going to have to deal with like some confliction. But, seeing the other black girl who she already was very critical of earlier, just be straight up sexually assaulted by their boss, and that, like you said, that rage just going in her. I've been waiting for that moment because, the guy was a jerk the whole time.
Yes, he was.
He was a racist jerk. He was a racist jerk. And, we needed that come up into some point. And I think it's perfect that Ruby, would deal with it because even early on when she's talking to the white women as Hillary, she's like, oh, has he gotten fresh with any of y'all? And they're like, well, I mean, that's his fault. And it's like, they knew this was going on.
Like doing that to his employees.
Yeah. It just,
but she takes that home though. And, she gets back. And we have a wonderful resolution or revelation happen. And it's crazy because a lot of people were speculating it. I saw people speculating this revelation happen like episode 3. And I think we even talked about it just on like, not on the show, but personally when we were like talking about what we were talk about. I think me and you had came across and said, you know what? It is kind of weird that, such and such and such and such have not been in the room together. We'll see come and then we'll see William come. But I don't think, I feel like we did see them, but I don't know. Like I think that's what I liked about the writing, how they directed and how they perceived this show, because if we did see it, we never saw it because it made it look like they were in the same room, but they really wasn't in the same room. And I think that was the camera magic of the whole, the first 3 episodes. Because I feel like we did see them together in episode 2 at the house.
Yeah, I swear we did.
So how did you feel about, the revelation?
Oh my God. That scene took me for a ride because, we talked about it. Like, I swore, I saw them together previously and I was just like, surely they're working together. Surely like something. And then but after what Tick did in episode 2 and had the castle, completely obliterated, I was like, okay, so how did he escape? Are they working together? But no. She's just doing a invasion of the body snatchers or a quantum leap on this man. Okay. And I'm just like, oh wow. So they're just snatching up bodies for real. And just pretending to be, somebody else. And that goes back to what, Ruby as Hillary, running around with that body. And that was a really great twist. That was really fun because it kept me on my toes because I did not expect that to be the thing that is revealed. I
kept thinking they were like twins. I kept thinking they were like twins, and they're like super powerful, and they are twins. I kept looking at them as twins. They both had blonde hair, and they both dressed to the T. They had a mysterious feel about them. So I just thought they were twins. So for that to happen, that was I think that's like top 3 plot twists of this series.
Yeah. and then to know that her, as William was having sex with Ruby, that's just another layer to, her basically this whole episode about exploring sexual identity, as well as racial identity. Like this was a very heavy episode in terms of identity politics.
Right.
And it just, this was a very, very clever way to address it.
Heavy episode, just picking up on a lot of things. To end off with this whole episode, because I want to say a point, but I don't think we found out at this point about what was in the basement. I think it's like an episode after that. So I'll keep that point. After, Ruby witnessing, William being just ripped open and you see Christina emerge fully bloody. Christina asks, she says, who tells her the currency of her magic is? What type of freedom do you want for this? And who are you really uninterrupted? Like, who are you uninterrupted? Like, what would you do in this body while nobody can really tell you what to do because nobody knows who you are? What would you do? And it says the results is she went back to the store as Hillary and gets revenge on her boss for basically being a sexual predator. And I think that was like a full circle thing because you can get into it because you alluded to it earlier. I think it was for, like you say, for Ruby to see that and to handle that. I think that was like right on the money. Don't put yourself in this body again, but go ahead, handle it.
Right.
At the end of the day, if you handle it in your regular body, you is under the jailhouse, woman. Like, you are gone. So go ahead, do it in this little fake body. Do what you got to do.
Needed. The streets needed that. I really think she really put her heel into it, I can make a bunch of jokes about this. Oh my God. Yeah, she really stuck it to him, didn't she? No.
So foolish.
No, but it was much needed. Like I was saying earlier, it had to come to a resolution, one way or the other. And I think this was the best way, personally, because it's very on brand for the show. Yeah. That's exactly what I expected, something, as gruesome as that to happen. But, I think it was funny to me. It wasn't funny to other people. But right after that happens, she sheds the skin and he's just looking, he's like, oh my God, what is going on? Like, that was hilarious. That was hilarious to me.
Do this to you. I'm going to treat you. No, it was like that was like the way they ended the episode. It was full circle because Ruby has started off shook about this transformation, shook about this potion, and then embracing the potion and everything. And then, like you said, she was out the cocoon and everything like that. But then I felt like she had to, when she saw that situation happen, she had to, embrace another beauty of who she is as a Black woman. Yeah. She had to stand up for, what she feels and how she feels and how, it ain't always going to be greener on the other side. You got to deal with the cards you was dealt and make the most of it. So the fact that she had that
opportunity. Montrose.
What'd you say?
I said kind of like with Montrose.
Right. Montrose. I'm not getting started on him today. I already said I felt for my trust because I was like, yeah, I feel what you're going through, bro. I do. But I think that episode was really like, it was heavy. Yeah. It touched on some things, and the theme was, transformation, metamorphosis. The caterpillar, the cocoon, and the butterfly. Being free, embracing whatever the situation is. I think the writers and Misha, they really did really good by, putting these stories on this episode and bringing them to life and, having a solution, problem, resolution, all that good stuff. Any closing notes for you on this episode?
I think this was one of the most polarizing episodes of season one, in the best way possible. And, I think after this particular episode, for me personally, it was nowhere but, like I said earlier, just I expect one thing to happen and something else happens. And it was a perfect, I think that's when they really caught their groove. Not saying, it wasn't since episode one, but it really took a wild turn in the best way possible.
Yeah.
It was a great episode.
It did. Cause I was seeing a lot of, I've read a lot. I remember reading a lot of articles and reading a lot of different things, and people were just like, it started off as an anthology, but then it just lost them. Are we all watching the same show?
Right.
It's going deeper into different characters. That's all it's doing. Same low shade. It's still the same storyline. That main plot of Sons of Adams and the Book of Adams, but there is other characters that have to have their own development, and I felt like this was the perfect time. This was the halfway mark of the season. This was the perfect time to take away Tick and Letty for a couple, for this episode. Like I said, even though we did see them and they had the rest, they discussed, that the discussion was from Letty, what if he did this to protect us and protect you, and our Tick was still fighting with that and everything. So, but to see them be back like secondary characters on this episode, and then have Montrose and Ruby as the main, and then Montrose as the secondary as main on this episode, I thought it was great because as we've seen them through the first 4 episodes, they've been on the side, but they've had when they would come in, they had important pieces. So for them to have this episode together and they both go through their own transformations, I thought it was a perfect episode. Really, really great.
Definitely.
So I guess we can wrap episode 5. This was The Strange Case. You can find us at Twitter at LCB Pod. You can also find us on YouTube. It is To Lovecraft and Back. Also, come see me and Aaron with Mo Diversity. It is our group podcast that we have with a couple of other people where we are an inclusive, we are transparent. We bring things in the nerd geek community that a lot of people do not touch on, far as the diversity of the multiverse of comics and everything. We talk about some real things. We have about, I think, 5 episodes uploaded on our YouTube channel for Mo Diversity. We do go live every Wednesday night at about 8:15, 8:30. Our last episode we did, which was yesterday, we talked with the writer from This Is Us, and that was amazing. Like, I am still from that because of how that interview went. So check us out on Mo Diversity. Me and Aaron are there with a couple of other friends, and we are having a good time over there. So yeah, Aaron, what do you want to leave us off with before we sign off?
Oh, I got the power. Okay. No pressure. Watch Lovecraft Country, watch Mo Diversity, or else.
Cthulhu
will absolutely come get you. Nyarlathotep will come get you. H.P. Lovecraft will probably write a racist story about you. We never know what'll happen. But as usual, this is Aaron, Michael, your Lovecraft voice.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.